Well, I'm going to the city and I'm gonna do a city show. And I know all my fans wanna learn how to make some dough. I've been cruising up and down for trades each and every night. And with my iPhone reclining, I know we're gonna get it just right. I'll get inside your mind, we'll have a real good time. We're gonna trade today, we gotta trade today. Go askSlim.
Hi, I'm Steve Miller. Call me Slim. And this is the askSlim Market Week. It's a look back at what happened in the financial markets in the past week, and a look forward at what might happen in the next week, and hopefully lots of great ideas and opportunities for you throughout the show. Well, the stock market had another really tough week as investors had to be really shaken by very dramatic moments of panic selling. For traders, if you caught these waves, it's some of the best trading that we've seen in the last 9 years. Of course, getting on the wrong side of those moves was expensive, and for some, I'm sure it was a tough adjustment to these massive swings that we're seeing during the day, with the Nasdaq seemingly having some 200-point ranges, being some of the widest trades that we have potentially seen in a long time. The biggest selling came on Wednesday. That was after a big rebound on Tuesday and an already softer or faltering market on Wednesday morning collapsed when the news hit the wires of some suspicious packages being sent to high-profile Democrats. News had come out that a package was sent to George Soros the previous day, and then on Wednesday it was reported that those were viable explosives. And then more packages started to show up that were sent to other Democrats, and the declines that we saw in the market in the futures were really breathtaking, and collapses in many stocks. That person, there's now a person of interest that is in custody out of Florida, and how sad for our country that already has this massive polarization going on, that a sick, a pathetic individual like this would do something in this order. It's really a horrible thing, no matter which side you're on, and hopefully our country can find a way to bring the sides together and save what could be a nightmare out there in coming years. Earnings news also threw some bombs. The bloom is clearly off the rose for the fangs, and maybe only left on those twigs are thorns. Amazon, Google, big declines after their earnings reports, and we had been warning about these stocks that there was risk, and the patterns had become risky and even showing some intermediate breakdowns. Now you got to wonder where the leadership is going to come from. Yeah, we're going to get bounces, and people are going to look at these as depressed and maybe even as value, but there's going to have to be some leaders that come up for the next rally phase in the market, as severe damage is done to these stocks that were the leaders and rallying the Nasdaq for so many years. And it doesn't take much to disappoint investors when you get stocks that have these huge valuations. In the case of Amazon, the earnings, were big, but they talk about potential for a softer than expected fourth quarter in sales, the Christmas quarter, and then the sellers just came in a massive way. And then there was a big rebound because we're getting stocks that look cheap, and the stock market has been falling, and there are a lot of stocks that are quite oversold. This all fits really well into our stock market scenario, where we thought that the market would decline into November. But the question is this a bear market that's starting, or is it just another hissy fit that we've seen a number of times in the stock market, where we've had corrections between 6.5%. People would not call that a correction, but I would because of our cycle analysis, all the way down to some 20% declines over this period of this 9-year bull market. this, we believe, is the beginning of something, actually. And you can watch in the next several weeks. We'll probably be doing another big picture analysis of the stock market for our members. We think that this period of real volatility, not implied volatility goes along with it, but real volatility, wider swings in the market, a lot more nervousness, we think that's here to stay. This is just the start of it. And that were this to be a bear market that's starting, well, the top formation probably will take many months. And we're probably going to go through periods where the bulls fight back, and we're going to get some super periods of big rallies, and maybe even in the beginning of next year be testing the highs that we just had. For us, this period of risk goes into November, maybe into early December. And then we think it's going to get better, and the investors are going to get calmer, and we're probably going to get a better period at that time. That's what we need to watch, what that rally looks like, and we think it's going to end up being something that fails. But we'll probably get a pretty good rally period at the end of the year into the beginning of next year. In the meantime, this decline, this correction in the market, we don't think it's over. And we think we're going to see more of those moments of panic selling before this is over with on the downside in coming weeks. Let's take a look at our 60-minute chart of the S&P 500, and I will show you what happened during the week. I added some little tidbits that you can see in here as you look at this chart. The first thing that we're going to look at is the early part of the week right over here, where we had a rally overnight. China stock soared on Monday before the opening, Sunday night. Moody's lowered Italy, but not to junk, and there was some celebration about that. So you had a rally going on, but then when the markets opened, healthcare banks, they led the Dow lower, and the Nasdaq was up. It was much stronger, and it was kind of a mixed day in here that we saw on Monday. Tuesday, China stocks, they reversed down. Italy's Plan B was rejected. U.S. stocks collapsed on poor earnings from Caterpillar and Triple M, and the first hour saw the Dow down 440 points. But there was a big comeback as we saw a lot of rally go on during that period, and that saw some Nasdaq stocks bounce, and that was a period where the market was able to rebound on Tuesday, and there was a giant rally on Tuesday. People thinking, well, that was the end of the decline. Then on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, the same fears came in that weighed on stocks. China, Italy, Russia, the trade war, and that caravan heading to the United States, where we are now sending some military over to the border to stop those people from coming into the U.S. illegally. New home sales dropped sharply on Wednesday, and Fed Kaplan comes out and said, we no longer need to stimulate the U.S. economy. Chip stocks, well, they headed lower sharply, and then the news started to come out. The reports of suspicious packages to Clinton, Obama, CNN, and then more pipe bombs sent to Holder and Waters and Brennan, and the stock market just went into absolute collapse. And that last hour was just something to behold as the S&P 500 fell some 80 points. It was just an absolute huge move on that day to the downside. Then on Thursday, we got some strong earnings out of Tesla and Twitter and Microsoft. I don't know what that Twitter symbol is. And that lifted stocks up. And we got a rebound post-Wednesday panic that pretty much lasted a good portion of the day on Thursday. But then overnight, Amazon fell 10%, Google 5% on earnings disappointments. We got a lot of selling waves early in the morning here on Friday. The GDP comes out. It beats on strong government spending, and the inventory adjustment kind of fakes it it was really much weaker than that. And you take out the ridiculous government spending. Remember, I'm libertarian. I don't want them to be 23% of our economy. I want them to be 15% of our economy. And you can imagine what kind of adjustment that would take if we got that. So until we get them to get out of the way and free the markets, we're going to go through a lot of years and periods of this. Then on Friday, bomb suspect in custody. There was a huge rebound in the Nasdaq as the oversold stocks got a big rebound. And I want you to notice there was a downtrend in here that we pretty much highlighted. And then you could see the megaphone bottom that formed in there. A beautiful megaphone that we have there. I really believe that that level that we got down to over here at about 26.27 on the futures is going to be about the worst of it for now. It could get tested, but I'll show you in the short-term view what I mean about that. And usually when you get this kind of broadening pattern, this selling is a capitulation. This is the beginning of a rebounding period. And that's really what I think we have right now as you see that in the stock market in the S&P 500, a bottoming pattern starting to form, and that is likely to get us a very choppy market coming into next week. I'm going to talk a lot about that as we get to the short-term view. There's a lot to see in the best and worst for the week, especially in the worst for the week. There's just a ton of stocks in there to look at, as there were some massive breakdowns and a lot of opportunities also. We're going to try to pinpoint time frames for some of the bottoms in those, so it's important. If you're not a subscriber, just level 1, you can then watch all of that. So as far as what happened this week, the stock market here with 2 hours left to go in the day, they're down. The indexes are down between 2.5% and 3.25%. You know, it's kind of plus or minus 3%. At the 3% level, so it was a bad market. The bond market up about 30 years up about 1.5 points, and the 10-year yields fall about 11 basis points. That's a big move in yields as a flight to safety is going on. And we saw that in the gold market and the dollar market also. Dollar gains about 0.75%. We think it's about done on the upside here. We talked about that for our members in Future Speak on Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit about more about that later on in the show. Gold gains about $13, and there is a ton of strength in there. We keep talking about it's very strong in a period that we think there's going to be one final move to the downside, and it's going to be harder when we think that the dollar is going to move to the downside. It's going to be harder to get a buying opportunity if the dollar does weaken as we expect. Oil down almost $2, and we think something important is coming in that, and we'll talk about that also later in the show. So that is the opening segment, and I think there was some really cool stuff that happened this week, and I'm going to be right back and show you a whole lot more of very cool charts. All right, for the best of the week, remember, follow me on Twitter at askSlim and become a YouTube subscriber. Make sure you give me a thumbs up on this video as it helps our rankings. And always send me your comments if you want to, or you could post those up on YouTube and give me a thumbs down. Tell me why so that I could be better next time. Really appreciate that. And don't forget, become a member. We need your support so we can keep bringing all of this great content, great enhancements that we just put on. If you don't know what our Future Speak and Market Week minutes are, you got to write me and ask about that so that you can get a peek of what that looks like. So just a fantastic enhancement that we put in there that'll take you right to the spot on the videos that you may be interested in. So we've had a lot of good comments on that also. All right, so now let's talk about the best stocks for the week. I really just have a few to show you. Remember that when I bring you this analysis, we're basically looking at weekly charts. The core of our work, which is cycle analysis, is done on the weekly charts. One of the stocks that, I'm proud of our analysis in here, because we caught the decline and then we called what we thought was going to be at least an intermediate term bottom, was on Tesla. So that one really worked out really well. I hope that some of you caught that out there. We expected that this period that you see right over here, where we have these nested bottoms right in here and these two spikes, was going to be the bottoming period. Now, we had all of this volatility going on, and Elon Musk, who has proved to be some strange character, now has been really quiet, and we thought that would happen. And then earnings came out, and they had some real earnings, which is really cool. But based on their production, the way they ramped it up, there's a lot of analysts that think that this may be a temporary situation, but they got earnings, real earnings. And our projection for the stock after this happened was up to 334, up to this level right over here, 336 right there. And you could see it got up through there and now rejected. We think it's going to be very, very choppy in this area, as a lot of people are skeptical. And it might even get up to higher fib levels, up around the 360 area. So we'll look at that again and see if we need to revise it higher. It made this level very quickly, and usually when that happens, there's higher prices yet to come. So this really worked out well. Tesla up 25% on the week, a monstrously good week. You just watched the opening to the askSlim Market Week show. To watch the complete show, just become an askSlim Level 1 member. It's still no cost to you. It includes my analysis on the best and worst stocks for the week and my projections for the short-term view of the coming week. There's always a chance to learn a lot about special situations, cycle analysis, all kinds of technical analysis, and of course, potential trading opportunities. We have an unbelievable offer here in that you not only get the full askSlim Market Week show, but you get the Market Week archives, which were not available to you unless you were a member before. Plus, you'll get special Level 1 videos that we put in there from our premium library, and sneak peeks to new product launches, and of course, more specials along the way. Become an askSlim.com Level 1 member, no cost to you.
Going to sit